segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
I'm Britton Rucker, and this is Ag AM in Kansas, and I am at the 2020 Corn School, co-sponsored by K-State and Kansas Corn. And with me now, I have Doug Jardine talking about weather, diseases, and corn crops. Doug, kind of give me an overview of the presentation you'll do today.
Okay, well, over the years, on an annual basis, Kansas corn growers lose somewhere between 10 and 15% of their crop to different diseases. So today we're going to be here. There are a few that I'm going to highlight. There's one called southern rust that has become an increasingly important problem in the last several years. So we'll give them some information how they can identify it, how to tell it apart from a similar disease that also occurs in our Kansas corn crop, talk about the yield losses associated with it, and then give them some tips on management. So that would be the first one. Probably the most important disease year in and year out it's actually a group of diseases called stalk rots. So they infect the corn through the root system and they degrade the lower stalk. Typically the corn will fall over, makes it a mess for harvest. So there's been some research up at Iowa State University on whether we can use fungicides to potentially keep the corn greener and standing better at the end of the season to make harvest easier. And so I will be sharing that data with the growers. Then there is a third disease called Physoderma brown spot. It's a disease that has sporadically occurred in Kansas over the years, typically up in northeast Kansas because it likes wetter weather. But we've had the last couple of years, record rainfalls in areas. We were just in southeast Kansas recently, and at the Parsons Experiment Station, they were almost 30 inches above their annual average. So very wet, and I know here in the Wichita area we're at today, it's been extremely wet the last couple of years. And so this disease is beginning to increase, and we had a number of instances of it this year. Again, I'm sharing some data from Iowa State University where they've done some research on whether fungicides can be used to control this disease. So besides the symptomatology, because most growers won't be familiar with this disease, we'll cover that, and then we'll cover the management principles. And then the last disease we're going to talk about is one that is not here in Kansas yet. It got going, it was first discovered about 3 or 4 years ago up in the northeast Illinois, northwest Indiana area. It's called tar spot. And as the name would suggest, it looks like somebody sprinkled tar on the leaves. And actually it's responsible for some significant yield losses up in the Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin area. The disease has been spreading gradually. It is now in Iowa and far northeast Missouri. And we might anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years that it'll be here in Kansas. So they're reading a lot about it in the different farm magazines, so I just want them to become familiar with it, let them know it's not here yet, so don't worry now, but it'll probably eventually get here.
Right. So a lot of good information coming up in this presentation. And Doug, why are events like the Kansas Corn School really important for the industry?
Well, it's important because there's a lot of research going on, not only at Kansas State University, but at our fellow land-grant universities I've mentioned today. I'm using information from Iowa State University. Sometimes we use information from the University of Nebraska. And all that research is no good if we can't get it in the hands of the producers and the agribusiness people who can use it. So events like today allows the university specialists to come out and share our information on soil fertility or plant diseases or new crop production techniques so that they can refine their operations and ultimately increase their profitability.
Very good. Well, thank you, Doug, for talking to me. And this has been Ag AM in Kansas, and I'm Britton Rucker.